What's up, everybody? Welcome. Today I'm going to do something that I've never done before. I'm going to go to the game store. I'm going to trade a bunch of stuff in. I'm going to take you guys with me. I'm going to talk about what I got, why I got it. And, you know, honestly, at this point, I have no idea what I'm going to go get. I might come home with a stack of Gamecube games. I might come home with a system. I don't know. You're going to have to stick around to find out. But the reason I'm doing this today is because I've spent the entirety of today reorganizing everything behind me. I've spent the day reorganizing my game room. And it's kind of silly, but up until this point, I have actually been keeping multiple versions of systems. I've been keeping both systems that I leave plugged up and I play on, as well as systems that I leave up behind me on display. I finally come to my senses and decided that's a bit silly. I am keeping variations. I'm keeping each color of Gamecube, each color of Wii, but yeah, I know, I have 6 or 7 of some consoles. So I'm taking those extra ones. I'm gonna trade them in. I'm gonna bring something home. I don't know what I'm gonna bring home either. That's why you might want to stick around and see what goes down. I might come home with a system. I might come home with 2 systems. I might come home with a stack of Gamecube games. You just don't know. The game store that I'm going to, it's actually a media store, books, music, all of it. But the only thing I've ever come home with from there is games and the occasional books. So I'm gonna run through what I'm taking in real quick. I have an N64. I've just bagged it all up here. I'm not really sure how this is going to go because I don't know what the trade policies are. It's actually, it's an okay condition N64 itself. It's got some chips, but that's pretty normal for N64. But the controller is a third party, as well as all the peripherals. So only the N64 itself is first party, and everything else is aftermarket. So will they take that? I don't know. I actually have a lot of that because you look at my Gamecube, and of course it's a Gamecube, but then I think, again, the controller, the video cable, and the power supply are all aftermarket. Will that bother them? I don't know. I might come home with all this. This might just be the most disappointing trade-in video that you'll find on YouTube. I really don't know. All the Wii stuff is first party, though the side of this Wii has a little yellowing on it. They might just say no. And then I've got an Xbox, the original Xbox. All the peripherals for it are first party, so that's good. But you can see this has been broken into. It does work. I've tested all this stuff. I've actually played on all this stuff. But this has been cracked into at one point. The seal is broken. So they might say no to that too. And you know, oftentimes in game stores, at least in my experience, they'll always find a reason to give you less or to not take something that they have too many of. So we'll see how it goes. But that's only a little bit of what I'm taking. The next thing I have is just a bunch of random stuff. I've got a bunch of these Pokemon tins and a bunch of cards to go with them. Again, something that they do definitely sell Pokemon cards, so I'm assuming they'll take them. I have about 6 of these World of Warcraft trading card game sets. But this is another complicated one because I think what's inside of these might actually be worth a little bit more than what it looks like, because it just looks like it's these starter decks, but it's not. Whoever had these before me just kept their decks, their decks that they had built from their whole collection assembled inside of these. So these are basically just deck boxes for these. So they have much better cards inside of them than would have originally come with these boxes. So there's that. More Pokemon boxes. Again, this store is a media store, so they like DVD sets, Blu-rays, concert DVDs, Sex and the City, stuff that I've picked up at, you know, at the Goodwill. Just look how many of these tins I have. This isn't even half of them. There's no reason for me to dig all of them out. But I do have this. It's a tin full of tiny little Pokemon figures. Real goofy. Who is that, Loudra? I don't know. I'm terrible. See how close I can get. Who else? See if I can find one I definitely know who it is. Togepi? Tiny little Togepi. Not much bigger than my thumbnail. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll want that. Maybe not. But that's the most of it. Again, I've got more Pokemon cards than I can fit on this camera. But they don't sell a lot of Pokemon cards at this store. I'll show you. They've got basically a glass case and then a drawer for the uncommons, where you can just dig through it and buy what you want. So maybe they'll take them, maybe they won't, I don't know. I'm just trying to get a few bucks. I'm trying to get rid of some stuff and come home with a few video games. That's my main intent here. So let's get this stuff back in the box. let's go to the store. Let's look around. Let's see what we can trade in. And most importantly, let's see what awesome things we might come home with. All right. Let's do it.
Put some trade-in stuff, some gaming stuff.
This stuff is going to be cleared out in a minute. We can set up here. Yeah. Not expired. Let's over this computer right now.
Sorry, we're not in any hurry either, so.
No, no worries.
Sit down.
Just letting you know the wait time is going to be over an hour.
That's fine. So let's go take a quick walk through the store here. As you can see, it's a bit of an everything store. All things music, media, movies, and then they also do video games and musical instruments and a lot of high-end audio gear and stuff. And here's their lock boxes where I get most of my good games. They lock all the good stuff up there in the boxes. And here's kind of the unfortunate part maybe of these stores is that there's the NES and here's the Super Nintendo and then the N64. There's usually nothing but the crap stuff on those. And if you're lucky when you go in, you will just happen to go in when they put the good stuff in the lockbox. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's stuff I buy off this Gamecube rack when stuff comes in that I don't have, but as I continue to collect more and more, the stuff that is on that Gamecube wall that I don't have becomes more and more scarce. Here's all the new stuff. That was PS4 and Xbox One. Here's probably where I've spent most of my money at this store, on the Wii and Wii U shelf, and maybe a little bit more so the PS1 stuff lately. I've been buying up all the games I can remember from there, and here's where I probably spent half of this store credit buying some PS2 games. I'll tell you about those here in a minute.
This one is yours?
134 in trade, or 134.60 in trade, or
Taking these ones
or
for 70 cents in store credit, or 35 cents in cash.
in
Okay.
cash.
134.60.
I ended up doing pretty good. They ended up taking all of the systems, a handful of Pokemon cards, and pretty much nothing of anything else. So, lesson learned. I know a little bit more now about what to take next time, what not to take. And for the systems and a handful of other stuff, I got $134. What's up, everybody? We're back in the game room, and I have a huge stack of games here that we're going to go through. But first, I wanted to explain that it's actually been a couple of weeks since I traded all that stuff in. And that's because though these stores that I go to trade stuff in are quite large and have a pretty awesome selection of games, the good stuff, and I'm talking the premium stuff, it goes pretty quickly. And case in point, the first game I'll show you, this copy of Super Smash Melee for the Gamecube. I've been wanting a copy of this for a long time, and I was lucky enough that while I was there trading all this stuff in, the guy that worked there was walking this copy of Melee to the lockbox in the store. I watched him put it in there, and I thought, I'm going to buy that. And I walked around the store a bit, and I just kind of thought about it. Having learned the lesson the hard way that stuff goes there pretty quick, I thought I better go tell the guy to put that behind the counter for me, which is what they do with the stuff in the lockbox when you want it. So I went back to the same guy. I said, hey, that copy of Melee you just put in the lockbox, I'll take it. He goes, I knew it would go fast. It always does. I was like, yeah. And sure enough, as we walked back over to the lockbox, he had the keys in his hands and was about to unlock it. A lady was standing there who had also just traded in an insane amount of stuff. I mean, she had old box Nintendo stuff. She had a bunch of stuff I would have liked to have had. Matter of fact, I've been frequenting that store, as I do, to see if they put out any of the stuff that she traded in. But she was standing there at the lockbox, and she said to the guy that I was walking up there with, hey, I'd like to buy this copy of Melee. And he was like, sorry, ma'am. This guy asked for it first. And kind of there in the moment, I thought about just being a nice guy and letting her have it, but I was like, this is really one of the ones at the top of my list. So I said, I'm going to take it. And so he put it behind the counter for me because of that situation, and it kind of, needing to make sure it was mine and not someone else's, I just let him take it back to the counter. And I usually check games there for manuals. I make sure that they're complete because as often as not, the manual's missing in video games at any video game store, not just this one. So unfortunately, my copy of Melee is missing its manual. But I got it for $40, which I felt like was a pretty good price. I'll probably just find the manual for it laying around somewhere one of these days, or I'll just break down eventually and order one off of eBay. I now have all of the Super Smash games except for Super Smash 64, complete in box, minus the manual for this one. And I also, it's not really related to this video, but I just picked up a Japanese copy of the Wii Super Smash because I saw it at a store. It was just a few bucks, actually. I don't have a Japanese Wii, but they are region locked, right? The Wiis? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if you know if the Wii is or isn't region locked. I'm not going to play it anyways. I'm going to put it on a shelf with the rest of my Super Smash games and memorabilia. So that's pretty cool. The next thing that I bought that I'm probably equally happy about as Super Smash is this copy of PlayStation 1 Monster Ranchers. Now, I have very fond memories of the Monster Rancher games growing up and the anime. I watched it quite a bit growing up. But when I bought this, I was like, great, but this doesn't look as familiar as I thought it would. And sure enough, I found out later that the one that I remember playing, and actually now after discussing this with other people, the one that most people remember playing is Monster Rancher 2. But that doesn't matter. I'm going to be putting the rest of the Monster Rancher games for all the systems at the top of my list and finding all of them. So I'm still very happy to have that. And actually, since making this video, I've ran across the copy of Super Smash 2 at the same store, and I took it to the counter to buy it. I was going to flat out pay for it. And I got there and looked at the disc, and it was just in abysmal shape. I mean, it was one of the worst I've ever seen. And the guy's like, you still want to buy it? I was like, no, I'm going to pass. I'll wait until I find a better copy. It has been hard to track down, though, so I'm kind of regretting not buying it and just ordering a better shaped disc off eBay, just to secure that I've got one of the games that I have the best memories of playing. But it didn't happen. I'll find it again, though. They all come back around. The next thing I bought, in the same day, one from each of the two locations that I traded this stuff into. Well, I traded it all into one, but they have two locations, and I went to both of them that day. I found a copy of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, both the Gamecube copy. I found this one at the one that I traded in, so I bought it along with the copy of Super Smash, and then I went to the other store and I bought the Wii copy. So I've got both of them. They're both in the collection. I'm sure there's no differences in these, right? If you know, let me know in the comments below. Is there any reason I should play one over the other? I mean, I might get better graphics in this one. Does it look a little better? I don't know. Let me know if you know. If not, I'll probably just throw in the GameCube one because I'm very fond of the GameCube. The next thing I bought over the next few days was, well, there's my copy of Super Smash for the Wii U. Yeah, the only one I had prior to this trade-in was I had the disc for the Wii Super Smash, and then I had the Switch version of Super Smash, and that was it. And so now through this round of store credit, I've got all of them except for 64. So I'm pretty happy about that. Super Smash, and then I bought Super Mario World 3D on the Wii U. I never owned a Wii U until very recently, so I've got to go back and play all those Mario games. I don't even own the regular copy of Super Mario Bros. U yet, but I own the Luigi version, so I'm going to go buy the other one, check them both out, see what the differences are, because I don't really know at this point. Another easy find was Hyrule Warriors. I don't even know what this one's all about, but, you know, it's a Zelda game. Is it a fighting game? I don't know. We're going to find out. And then, let me make sure, yep, all of the rest of that trade was a big handful of Dynasty Warrior games. Now, probably tied for first place for my most nostalgic memories of video games as a kid would be Monster Ranchers and Dynasty Warriors. So just run through them real quick. Dynasty Warriors 3, Dynasty Warriors 4, Dynasty Tactics, Dynasty Warriors 2, and then Extreme Legends, I guess is an expansion of Dynasty Warriors 5. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Dynasty Warriors Empires for 5, Extreme Legends, Dynasty Warriors 4. So, turns out there's like a bazillion Dynasty Warrior games, which sucks because I am a completist. It's terrible, but I just have an itch to have all of them. So, like, there's Dynasty Warriors original on the PlayStation, and then I guess 2 and 3 are on PlayStation 2, and then I think either, I guess 3 and on, or maybe it's 4 and on, all have like add-ons and expansions. So there just turns out there's like 30 different Dynasty Warrior games, and I have to have all of them. So that's the start of it. I honestly, I spent quite a bit on this because they're all between $7 and $15, and I think I paid $20 for one of them. So a good bit of that credit, probably half of it, was on these Dynasty Warrior games. And so that's it. That's everything I bought. Now, what I want to discuss here at the end of the video was, do you think this was worth all that trade-in? Because I traded in a lot of systems. And I'm not unaware that had I taken the time to put those same systems, etc., on eBay and get the full value and not roughly half of the value that this game store gives you, half of their sale value, what they're going to sell it for, I'm not unaware that I would have gotten a lot more money had I put more time into it. But that's kind of the thing. You know, time is valuable too. And my girlfriend and I make our living selling clothing that we buy from the thrift, repurposed clothing. And so while I'm at the thrift store, I pick up anything gaming related that I see that I know they'll take and trade in, and that's how I get my games. I don't hardly spend any money at all on games unless they're cheap at the thrift store. I keep those, then everything else I trade in. So that makes this stack worth it to me. But I'm sure somebody sitting there watching this is thinking, you know, there's a lot of value in that stuff I traded in. Let me know what you think. I'm definitely open for discussion for that. If I were probably a less lazy person, I would have just sold all the stuff and got a lot more. But I feel happy about this. I mean, this is all stuff I'm going to play. Everything in here, minus probably playing both copies of the Zelda game, everything in here I'll probably play to completion. I mean, maybe that's a little ambitious. I'll definitely play the Mario games, no doubt. I'll play those all the way through. There is no Mario game I will leave unturned. I don't know if I'll play all the expansion stuff for the Dynasty Warriors, but I'm still super happy to have them. So that's it. Let me know in the comments what you think. Good, bad, ugly. Did I make a mistake? Should I keep doing this? That's another question to answer, because I have a lot more stuff to trade in. I'm going to keep doing this. This is how I'm going to grow my collection. You can see behind me here, that's my video game shelf. There's about 350 games there right now, and it's growing every day. Some days I put 20, 30 games on there, which is pretty crazy, but you know, those are the days where I go to the thrift store and there's a ton of games on the shelves, and those are the days that I go and make trade-ins and bring home 20 games. All right, guys, that's it. Let me know in the comments below, did I do good? Did I do bad? And as always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so that you'll get notifications in the future when I post more videos, and you can come back and hang out with me and we can talk about video games, and it'll be awesome. Peace out. So you guys may or may not be able to hear a bit of a whining noise in the background, and I do apologize for that, but my 3D printer is setting just off camera, and it has been running day and night for about a week now. I've been printing stands for my controller collection to go on behind me. And I've got so many more to go. I've probably got a collection of about 30 controllers, and it takes anywhere between 4 and 8 hours per stand. So I was not about to pause that in order to do this video. Matter of fact, there will be a future video on these controllers and the stands that I've been making for them. So definitely hit that like and subscribe button so you can come back and check that out when I put that video up.